Opinions expressed on this radio program do not necessarily reflect the views of this radio station.
My friends and I always tune into the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. Todd is entertaining, informative, and always delivers the goods.
Todd might not tell you what you want to hear, but he's going to tell you what you need to hear. And all you got to do is listen.
Hold on, Todd. Don't let go. It's time for the Todd L. Levitt Law Show.
Welcome to the Todd L. Levitt Marijuana Law Podcast. Good morning, good evening, and good night. I'm yours truly, attorney Todd L. Levitt, broadcasting and podcasting in the middle of the mitten, a beautiful white nutrient field with clones, and clones, courtesy of the DGC, the Dude Grow, Dude himself, and Scotty Reel in the DGC. How you doing? Craig Russell, you're back. Welcome back.
I am back. I was able to snag 111 different coats from 17 different Goodwills around most of Michigan, and I've started my eBay store. There's only one problem.
What is that?
All the coats are little kid sizes. It's the only thing I could find. So if you've got a kid, I'm good to go. Otherwise, you'll have to wait till I fortify the eBay store with some more stuff. But how are you, Todd? You've been snowboarding at all? You doing any boarding since the snow and winter has hit Michigan?
No snowboarding. Last weekend was the Iceman Comet.
Oh, that's
30th
right.
anniversary.
That's right.
30th year.
How was it?
I'm not sure.
How was it?
It was unbelievable. It started in Kalkaska, Michigan, 30 miles, single track, double wide, all the way to Traverse City, more specifically Timber Ridge. And it had snowed and rained all week leading up to this event. And so the question was, do we go with the fat bikes? Do we go with the carbon fiber? So the really cool thing about the Iceman this year, they changed the start.
Okay.
And they put us out at the airport. So you've got 4,000 plus riders getting ready to go wave after wave after wave with thousands of spectators. The riders, we were allowed to actually practice and warm up on one of the runways. There was no planes coming, of course.
Oh, cool.
Now, it was so freaking cool. And all the boys were out there. My team was out there. So big shout out to Levitt Law mountain bike team. But I want to thank, and it was a mud mess. It was just a slopping, muddy mess. I was in wave 22, so you can imagine on a single little track with rain and snow all week, how you're going to get through that. It was very difficult. But I did. I finished in a little over 4 hours, and I'm proud of that. And then once you finish it, there's 30,000 people waiting for you. But I want to give a big shout out to the Grand Traverse Sheriff's Department, the men and women of the Sheriff's Department up there in Grand Traverse Bay. They do such a great job keeping, traffic organized, all the spectators, and just keeping us safe. So big shout out to Grand Traverse Sheriff's Department out there. Big shout out to Jason, my good buddy Jason. He shredded the gnar out there as well. And also, the United States Army was out there, Craig. you got to remember there's thousands and thousands of people, descending on this area, and there's traffic. There's roads to shut down and keep organized. And the U.S. Army was out there keeping everybody safe. I'm not sure if it was the reserves or who was out there, but it was so good to see our men and women in uniform, both from law enforcement and in the military. It just, you're shredding the gnar. You're a muddy mess. You're miserable. And to see these men and women out there keeping you safe and making sure that nothing goes wrong, it just keeps you motivated, and it just keeps you pumped full of adrenaline. So can't thank them enough. All the volunteers, and of course Gordo, who owns Timber Ridge, which is a great resort up there in Traverse City. Check out Timber Ridge Resort, year-round resort, Craig. But it was just an awesome time. And, here's the thing. You want to hear my complaint? I got a massive complaint.
Oh, sure, always.
And by the way, Little John is in studio today.
And there's a reason Little John is here.
We'll get to complaint.
We will get to that in a second. But what's the complaint?
Yeah. Well, and it's not about you shopping for your eBay store and all the secondhand clothing stores out there where there's some great stuff.
Good.
My complaint is this. So I'm out there. All my friends are out there. We started in the morning. It's below freezing. We're going all day. We're in the mud. We get finished. I had at least 8 to 9 family and friends out there, Jen included, her brother Mike, who were out there supporting myself and my team.
Okay.
And we finished maybe, 2, 3 o'clock, maybe before that. I can't keep track right now, the second. And as the early evening came upon us, I'm jumping off the walls. I'm ready to go. There's this huge after party. Everybody in my party wanted to take a nap and lay down. And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? How is that possible? I'm the one that's out there, for 4+ hours in the mud. I'm 54, shredding the gnar. And what did you guys do today that was so exertion? What did you do today that you had to exert that much energy that you are all now tired and need a break? So my complaint is to my friends and family. Come on, man. To steal a line from Randy Moss, one of my favorite receivers of all time. Come on, man. Are you kidding me? What did you do that you're so tired that you need to all just chill before, we go to the after party? So that's my complaint this week, Craig.
I'm going to be really honest with you, Tom. Normally your complaints are pretty spot on. People cutting you off in traffic, people behind you or in front of you at the grocery store, stuff like that. This one seems a little out there. So people were tired and wanted to take a nap. Let them take a nap and then go to the after party.
From
or go
what?
To the after.
Standing around watching people finish a bike race?
Who knows? Maybe your friends and family were up all night worried about you, worried sick about Todd shredding the gnar at 54. You were going to have a heart attack or something.
I took off at 10:02 a.m. and finished a little after 2 p.m.
Okay.
Big Hair was there, by the way.
Okay.
I got a picture of Big Hair looking just miserable, but he did great as well. But hey,
I want
Craig,
to see this picture though.
I've got that picture.
Is he in his yoga pants and his flannel?
No.
Does he stand by the
Oh
Prius?
yeah, you know it. Hey, how cool was the dude and Scotty Reel last week in the mothership?
Oh, that was awesome, man. I ended up hearing the show, and I'm sorry that I missed it. Silly me trying to shop for kids' clothing at the eBay stores. But, it was great. Those guys are fantastic. Not only are they super knowledgeable, but they got great personalities, and they kind of play off each other, and they were playing off each other and off of you, and it was awesome. And it shows. We're like into the thousands of downloads for that show. That one spiked way up as opposed to our normal, hundreds and thousands that we normally get for downloads on the podcast. But everybody, I've heard nothing but great stuff about those guys, and the show was fantastic.
So the cool thing is, and if you're just tuning in for the first time and you missed last week's show, check out the dudegrows.com. Just shout, as Scotty Reel says, the dude at any search engine, and check out their, Wake and Bake. I am a regular on their shows, and so they're going to be regular on our show. They want to bring to Michigan, to mid-Michigan, the DGC Cup.
Yeah.
We talked about that last week on the show. So, Craig, you and I are going to co-host the DGC Cup sometime next year right here in the middle of the mitten. So stay tuned for that, listeners. Holy crap.
Boy, if we could figure out a way to get the cup at the same time we're doing the 420 Cannabis Expo, you want to talk about a 1-2 punch right there.
Well, that's the whole idea. That's what we're planning. That's the whole idea. That's what we're planning on doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah. And at the expo, so on Friday evening is registration. You pick up your packets. There's a huge bike expo at the Iceman. I met some really cool individuals and companies out there. I consume an energy bar called the ERG Bar, E-R-G, the ERG Bar.
Okay.
It's out of Traverse City, and I actually met the folks that own it, that created it. So, Katie and her husband, Katie Bean Larson and her husband. So the ERG Bar, ERG, E-R-G Energy. You got to check it out. So check out erg-bar.com, erg-bar.com. I met the Herb and Meds CBD company, Herb and Meds, CBD.com. Great folks out there as well. H&M Wellness. They do some great local and handcrafted products as well, the H&M people. Also, check this out, Craig. Remember I had to miss the Margie Giesick because my buddy, Dr. Love, Herb Gilbert, had to get married?
Did he get divorced already? Did he get divorced already?
No, but him and his wife were at the race.
Oh, okay.
That was the plan. That was the deal. So I just want to mention that.
I got you. I thought maybe they split up already.
No, not. They had to stay married a year past next year's race for me. So.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Hey, big show today, though.
Huge
big show.
Big show.
Big show. Little John is back in the mothership here. So when we come back from break, Little John is going to come on and talk about everything that Little John talks about. Welcome back to the Todd L. Levitt Law Show, broadcasting and podcasting in the mothership with my good friend Craig Russell, e-commerce king of all kings. the shopping around the Midwest for the best deals for his store is Craig Russell, folks. Craig.
Whatever. Oh, thank you.
You know, there's not even any truth to it, is there?
No, not really. Not one iota, but there might be.
It makes for a great story, though, doesn't it?
If you go on to eBay and you search for kids' coats mid-Michigan and you happen to find a store, it might be me. You never know. You'll have to see.
Hey, by the way, before we get to Little John and the mothership, I came across a story a couple weeks ago, and I meant to talk about it or just mention it. Did you hear that story in Oklahoma where a man actually pled guilty to cocaine possession, only later to withdraw his plea because it turned out to be powdered milk?
Really?
This is a true story. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison after he pled guilty to possession of cocaine with intent to distribute. What state police lab screwed that one up? And I'm not blaming state police necessarily, but at least in the state of Michigan, when law enforcement confiscates any type of substance and, whether they know on the scene because it's tested on the scene what it may or may not be, everything is shipped off to the Michigan State Police Lab. And the men and women there do a great job, by the way. I know some people that work at the MSP lab there. But this is Oklahoma. So, and we have some listeners out in Oklahoma and a lot of listeners in Texas. So who missed that one?
Well, did you see the story about the police officers in New York? They confiscated what they thought was 16,000 pounds of marijuana. It ended up being 16,000 pounds of industrial hemp, which, of course, as we know, legal in this country. They had egg and a little bit of product all over their face as well. So, and that's New York City. You would think those guys have seen stuff, they should know. Oklahoma, maybe not as much, especially with, cocaine, but you would think New York City, they would know what the difference between hemp and marijuana is. Could you tell the difference, Todd?
Yes, absolutely. Well, the plant is very distinct in the way it grows, by the way.
Sure.
The hemp plant is more of a thinner, taller stalk than the marijuana plant, which, becomes a monster in itself. But how about in California, where they executed warrants on 11 fields? This is, I think, 100 miles north of Los Angeles, and the authorities destroyed, get this, 10 million marijuana plants, and I believe that the growers were growing them under the guise of legitimate hemp production. It turned out to be marijuana plants.
And obviously, it wasn't like they're doing like the legal marijuana. They're trying to do this, sell this in the black market and stuff like that, right?
I'm not sure what they were trying to do or not do, but the cocaine one, that's interesting. It turned out to be powdered milk. But hey, let's bring on Little John here. Also in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, the Ballot initiative that we talked about a few weeks ago, it failed.
Yeah,
Recreational failed.
I saw that. What's up with that?
It's just, it's unfortunate, but Recreational, everybody's asking me, well, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? Mount Pleasant, Michigan will have recreational licenses in this community. I just think that now all the parties need to get together, come to some meeting of the minds, and get it done right. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, this was the competing ballot initiatives about whether they're going to do it the one way or the other way, but it was still all going to be involved, and there were still going to be licenses, and there was still going to be recreational marijuana in the city limits and things like that. They were just trying to figure out which way they were going to go with it, but that's too bad that didn't pass.
Everything will work out in the end, though. Everything's going to work out. Hey, Little John's here in the mothership. How you doing, Little John?
Well, I'm awake.
Little John is the president of the Eagles, so big shout out to the Eagles. How many members are in your local chapter, Little John?
Out in Wademan there, Mayberry, I call the town, but there we have 900 members. It's a big organization. It helps a lot of people, charity events and whatever. We're always there trying to give back what we get.
Hey, Little John, so you always call that area Mayberry, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so who's your Floyd the Barber? Is that you?
No, that's the guy that's in Beer City.
Oh, okay.
Beer City's a town about 10 miles from us.
So who are you playing this Mayberry, or who are you?
Well, they call me the attorneys call me the interpreter for Mayberry people that get in trouble.
Okay.
Because we have a different language out there. And Brother Todd knows what I'm talking about because he's represented people. But
Sure.
A lot of the attorneys will say, hey, John, we need you to interpret. We have these people from Wademan. When I say Mayberry, then, no disrespect to Marshall Hooker. He was a heck of a great guy. But we were a one-town Marshall, so I named it Mayberry. And then we go to Beer City to get to Mount Pilot here. And I refer it to the Andy Griffith Show.
Right, exactly.
And as you have mentioned.
That's why I was wondering who's your Otis the town drunk there.
Well, when I first moved up there, I was.
But not anymore. Not anymore.
No. When I moved up there, I had a whorehouse on wheels. It was a motorhome, but it was a motorhome, and get my drinking money. And instead of people having to drive all the way into Mount Pilot to get a hotel room, I'd rent them my motorhome for $10 quick.
You've lived quite the colorful life, haven't you, Little John?
Oh, it gets more colorful every day. And to share these stories are great, Hey,
know what?
That's when I was known as Dr. J.W. Weasel, attorney at law. Practice and ministry for I can marry him and bury him.
Oh,
praise God, I've been clean and sober for 29 years now.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
And it's a fight every day, isn't it? Still to this day.
Oh, yeah.
Still to this day,
Yep.
It's a fight every day. Hey, we haven't mentioned this yet, but tomorrow, this show on Sunday, tomorrow is Veterans Day.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, let's talk a second about how important our armed forces are and the people who served and fought for our freedoms in this country are to us.
Well, I'm telling you, without them, I wouldn't be here today. Without them, I wouldn't have the freedom that I do have. And I'm not going to get in the political aspect, but I think, if things don't go right, we're going to be right back to bad days, and our poor servicemen, I wish they'd put the draft in effect again. But every time I hear of a serviceman or run into one or lady, guess what? I'm always thanking them. What do you thank me for? My freedom.
That's right. That's exactly correct. And it's also important to remember that, there's Memorial Day, which is to celebrate people who fought for our country and paid the ultimate sacrifice. There's Armed Forces Day to thank the people who are currently fighting. And there's Veterans Day. These are the people who have fought the good fight. They put their life on the lines to keep our freedom. I say this to Todd all the time. You go to another country and see what it's like there. You will be scratching and clawing to get back to this country because people... we say all the time, we're all divided and everybody's, this country's going to hell and blah, blah, blah. You know what? This is still the greatest country in the world. Go anywhere else and prove me wrong. And it's because of veterans who fought for our freedoms to keep this the greatest country in the world.
Amen, brother. Like the Wademan Club, the Wademan Aries, bought the building, the VFW, the old VFW building.
Oh, okay.
So as part of the deal, because they gave us a heck of a buy, and all shouts out to the VFW, but, people were getting older and there wasn't enough to run it anymore. So they give us the opportunity to have it, and for letting us do that and giving us the deal, we keep all the flags hanging. We have a plaque of all the retired, the servicemen that have passed away serving in World War II, World War I, anybody out in that Mayberry, Beale City, Wademan area, we have all their names up on the wall. We keep the flags up there, and the building was named after a young lad that got killed named Blackmer, and I can't remember the other young man's name, but we still honor them all, We're always showing the respect. When you walk in, you see their pictures, you see the plaque, and you see all the flags.
And that's important.
Without them, we wouldn't have what we have.
And we're starting to lose. I mean, there's not many left from who fought in World War II. We still have some people left from Korea. Of course, we still have people left from Vietnam. And we have people left from Desert Storm and from the Gulf War and everything like that. So, I mean, we see it's sad that the VFWs are starting to lose a lot more members just because there's not as many people left from that time.
See, that's one thing we didn't want the name to pass on.
That's right.
That's why we keep they have a big plaque out front. We've left that there. We keep the flags hanging inside the building. We have the pictures of the two young lads that were from that area. We're letting it live. We're keeping it alive that people know. And that's why they ought to reinstate the draft for kids understand, and they might respect a little more understanding what our freedom is all about here.
And we are certainly, we can agree to disagree. I don't necessarily know if we need the draft anymore, but I do think it's important that people, especially younger people, understand that this country isn't just a given, that we're always just going to be free, and that this is always, it could change at any minute. And you have to be able to not only understand, but you have to be able to appreciate these freedoms because they're not free. Freedom isn't free. It was been paid
right
for.
There.
Been paid for many, many times over. Little John, we have to take a break. I'm sure we'll have Todd back on. Well, I'm sure we'll have Todd back on to talk more stuff coming up.
Yes, we will.
We'll be back.
And I want to give a shout out quick. Do I have a minute?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go for it.
He's sitting in the sun, probably just sitting back, relaxing this beautiful morning because it's his day off. But he's now out there in Texas, and I know he's listening to the show. I want to give Logan Hammer a shout out. But with that, I'll shut up.
All right. Well, then you don't have to shut up. That's fine. But I get
Well, I'll just be quiet for a few.
I got you.
Give your brother Todd back.
If that's possible.
Okay, brother.
We will take a break on the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Todd L. Levitt. I wanted to say welcome back to the Todd L. Levitt Grow Show. But this is the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. By the way, here's a legal update for the listeners out there in the great state of Michigan. I know people listen to this all over the world on podcasts, but the state of Michigan is introducing legislation through the House, and I believe it's passed the House and into the Senate right now, whereby it's going to change the expungement laws, aka setting aside a conviction. As it stands right now in the state of Michigan, you can only expunge one felony and or 2 misdemeanors. So you cannot have on your record more than 2 misdemeanors, 1 felony by itself, 1 misdemeanor by itself, 2 misdemeanors. There's a formula. So for instance, if you were convicted of 2 felonies and 2 misdemeanors, then you would be precluded from ever setting aside any of those 4 counts. But under the new proposals that are passing through right now, if you got 3 felonies from the same incident, out of the same circumstance, if everything passes and the governor signs a version of this bill, then you may be able to set those aside. As it stands right now, you can set aside certain convictions 5 years from the date probation terminates. That's the standard right now. So we'll keep the listeners updated. Also, that includes marijuana convictions as well in the legislation, as well as certain traffic matters that are on your driving abstract, which is huge for citizens of the state of Michigan.
So is this something that they do in other states, especially in other recreational marijuana states, or is Michigan leading the way in this?
No, Michigan is not leading the way. Well, Michigan is leading the way in the sense that, we're one of a handful of recreational states now. But
right.
I think San Francisco did something whereby the city itself set aside all these convictions. Michigan absolutely needs to do that. The thing that really pees me off the most is that, with all these laws changing across the country in all the different states and in other countries, that the laws they're not changing the laws to keep up with the changes. And more specifically, and I complain about this all the time, for instance, you're 21 and older in the state of Michigan, you can possess and consume certain cannabis products, but yet if you get behind the wheel of a motor vehicle, you're still going to get jacked and whacked. So the laws have not caught up yet. And we talked about that a few weeks back with those THC breathalyzers that we were describing and talking about. So that's my big complaint. I mean, if you're going to change one law, change law 2, 3, and 4 to be consistent with the laws you're changing. There's too many gray areas, and people get caught up in these gray areas, and it costs them their jobs, their families, their visitation, their ability to move freely. There's too many gray areas. So I want to see the men and women across this country, when these laws are changing and passing, tighten things up. Tighten your game up, folks. This is a word out to all the politicians, and I hate talking politics on this show because we're not necessarily a political show. I mean, obviously, you know what we stand for, so maybe we are a political show.
No, not really.
We advocate.
Not really.
Yeah, I don't think we never talk politics.
No, not at all.
But I want to see the men and women pull up their straps and fill in those gray areas. Just don't be passing laws that allow for this, that, and the other thing, yet those other laws are still existing that are in conflict with those laws, and it's costing people a lot. And I'm tired of it as a citizen, first and foremost, and as an attorney. Enough's enough already. Clean it up out there.
Well, you know what? Here's the beautiful thing. Next year is an election year, and you certainly have your opportunity to vote people in or out of office.
With you there. You got it right on the button, buddy.
Yeah, you can. You can
keep going. We got to get it together.
That's right. You can take all this stuff into your own hands, and if the people who are not making the laws and not making them soon enough, you can get people in there who will make the laws quicker. That is the beautiful thing about our country. You can't just leave it up to them. They got to know, and that's why it's also important that lawmakers come back to their constituents, come back to their areas, come back to their states. Don't just sit there in Washington all the time.
That's it. They got to come back.
Come back and hear what we want to see, what we're talking about. What we are is what's important to us. They might think they know what's important to us, and for the most part, they might have an idea. But if it's things like this, they might not understand completely that this is important to the citizens, and they need to take that information back to Washington. You going to run for president president there, Little John? You might as well join everybody else.
I'll run for president, yeah.
Yeah. Little John, 2020.
I'm writing Little John in on the ballot in 2020. Little John is little. He is. Little John gives so much back to so many people. He's about 4'9". I don't know. What are you, 60-something years of age? Is that okay to disclose that, Little John?
Yeah. I'm going to be 69 the 17th.
And he does so much for so many people out there, community service, the youth. Little John's been involved with this show from day one. We did our skate competitions together back in the day. We did free rides for students, 420 Canada Hemp Expo. He's the president of the Eagles. And again, I just want to also thank all the veterans out there currently serving, those who have sacrificed their lives, their families and loved ones, and those who are going through boot camp right now. I know a few young men and women who recently joined our services, and so much respect for our veterans, and we love all you vets out there. Can't say that enough, Craig.
And remember, Memorial Day is for memorializing the people who served and fought and gave the ultimate sacrifice. Armed Forces Day is for the people who are currently serving. And Veterans Day, these are the people who have served. These are the people who fought for our freedoms in Germany, in Japan, in the Philippines, fought in Korea, fought in Vietnam, fought in the Gulf, fought in Afghanistan, fought the war on terror. These are people, who not only fought, but also people back home who protected us here. We're very lucky, Todd.
Yeah, there's nothing but, I agree 100%. Can't disagree with that.
Well, you know how lucky we are? You know how many times we've had wars, foreign wars on our soil? Never. Other than, if you count 9/11, other than that, and, the British invasion in 1776, there are countries that are war-torn that have wars fought on them all the time. We don't have that here. There's a reason for that. It's because of our armed forces, because of our military, because of our reputation in the world. No matter how tarnished you might think it is, nobody's coming over here and bringing tanks and invading our beaches, because we would blow them to kingdom come. That is because of our military, and that is because of veterans, people who have fought for our freedoms. Off my soapbox.
Amen. That's not a soapbox. That's the spoken word right there. And again, we talked about this in the first segment when we were shredding the gnar from Kalkaska to Traverse City, Timber Ridge. Not only did, Grand Traverse Bay Sheriff's Department do just an outstanding job. Grand Traverse Sheriff's Department always does a great job up there. But the men and women in the military, I'm not sure where they were from. I'm thinking Camp Grayling. I'm not really sure, but they were alongside of the sheriffs, keeping us safe and everything running smoothly. And I cannot tell you, you are already full of adrenaline when you're biking, from point A to point B on these single tracks, especially that day with all the mud out there. But when you see these men and women, it just gives you so much pride and joy. And everybody, as you're biking by, you're thanking them.
Sure.
And you're thanking them. So
and deservedly so.
To them. And the lady with the cowbell at Anita's Hill, too much cowbell, okay? Those shredders out there know what I'm talking about as we got on the Vasa Trail. Way too much cowbell. You're coming, you're going up and down, and you're tired and you're full of electrolytes and you're trying to stay focused and on the bike and keep pedaling. And you get to these incredible climbs, and you're focused on making those climbs. And people, and they're very kind. They're shaking their cowbells and screaming at you. And sometimes I'm thinking, okay, folks, way too much cowbell. Way too much cowbell.
I bet you Christopher Walken might have a bit of bone to pick with you about that, because you can never really have too much cowbell.
One of my favorite Saturday Night Live segments of all time.
Yes, of all time. It's just a great one. And the character, here's a little fun fact, the character he played, Bruce Dickinson, the quote-unquote famous producer of that song, there was no guy named Bruce Dickinson. That was all made up. But
is that right?
But it seems legit, doesn't it? Totally seems like he's
totally
legit.
Seems legit.
That he's the cowbell. Now, there was the guy that Will Ferrell played who plays the cowbell. That guy was in the band, but there was no Bruce Dickinson. So I
never knew that. Hey, Little John wants to chime in here.
Okay,
I have a couple things here.
Okay,
veterans for appreciation. A whole lot of restaurants are giving free meals out to you for that day.
That's right.
And remember this: if you want to become an Eagle member, first year is free if you served in the forces, if you're a fireman or a retired fireman, retired from the military, retired police officer, we let you join free for the first year. That would be any Eagles in the United States.
That's awesome. Yes, there are lots
That's
of
what I want to say.
Yeah,
And
lots of
thank
restaurants.
you, veterans, again for all my freedom.
I know Applebee's in the
Amen.
past. I know Applebee's in the past have done it. I know Texas Roadhouse does it. I know Golden Corral. A lot of restaurants do free things on Veterans Day, and they, in my opinion, this should be every day of the year. Much like how we all like brotherhood and joy and treat each other nice on Christmas and stuff. We should do that every year, every day of the year. Same thing for our veterans. There's no way in the world we could do a whole show on how shabbily our veterans are treated in this country.
And make sure you hire veterans.
Yes, hire veterans.
No one better trained, with more discipline, and who is willing to work, harder than anybody than our vets. I have a lot of friends. We all have friends that are veterans. And, like I said, I know men and women currently serving. Our good friend Vinny, a member of the team, he's attempted to, he's entering the military here, I think, in the next half a year. So kudos to Vinny. But, hey, Craig, I think we have to go to break.
We do have to take a break. We'll come back and we'll finish up the show. Now you've got a couple more things you want to talk about. We'll be back on the Todd L. Levitt Law Show.
Welcome back to the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. Thanking and appreciating all veterans out there, Craig.
Yes, tomorrow being Veterans Day, if you're listening to this 98.5 US in central and northern Michigan. Of course, if you're hearing the podcast, you could be actually hearing it on Veterans Day. And if you know a veteran, you definitely should thank them for their service. Not only do you thank people who are currently serving, but you should also thank veterans because, again, you know what they basically decided to do with their lives? They decided to give up their potential freedom and potentially give up their lives to fight for us back here for our way of life. They didn't die, thank God. They didn't make the ultimate sacrifice, but they were ready to. No matter what branch of the military you're in, at a moment's notice, they could have to go to war if there was ever a situation, and they would be fighting for our freedom, us blackies back here at home. And so always thank them. Always, always, always.
I just got done watching The Pacific. That was a great miniseries about the men who fought in the South Pacific in World War II. Boy, that's something else for sure. Hey, Craig, I've got a big announcement here.
Okay.
Heidi, my 420 Can of Hemp partner, Heidi runs mycompassion.org.
Great organization.
Check out great organization, mycompassion.org. Next Friday, November 15th, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. in Romulus, Michigan, is putting on a cannabis and hemp real estate power presentation. So if you're in the Midwest or state of Michigan and you want to attend just an outstanding presentation, you'll gain all kinds of knowledge on the growing hemp industry in the state of Michigan. It's going to be at the Marriott Hotel, November 15th, Friday, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you mention that you heard it here on the show, you get 50% off the registration fee. I'm not really sure what the fee is, but you go on to mycompassion.org, mycompassion.org for all the information. Say hi to Heidi for us, and Heidi is my partner that runs 420 Canna Hemp Expo with me at the Soaring Eagle on 4/18 next year. Little John will be there.
4/18/2020.
Yeah, and we're hoping to bring the DGC Cup with the Dude and Scotty Real from the Dude Grow Show to the 420 Expo. How huge will that be? We're actually in talks about it right now.
That would be big. Super, super big. Totally big.
Yeah, let the guys know, though, if you follow their podcast, that you heard them on our show and that you found them through our show, because those guys are expert growers and they give out so much information. We are going to have in upcoming weeks, Craig, individuals on who are going to be talking about pets and CBD products.
Oh, okay.
Which ones are good for your pets and which ones are not good for your pets. We're going to have some cooks on the show talking about other type of products containing hemp products and the health benefits from them. So we're looking forward to changing it up a little bit here in the upcoming weeks. Little John will be back on the show. Of course, we love Little John. And the Dude and Scotty Real will be back on before the end of the month here in the mothership.
It's just some big stuff happening around here. And, of course, maybe you're checking us out for the first time on the podcast because you heard about us on with the Dude and Scotty Real. Tell all your friends. And if you just stumbled upon us or maybe you're hearing it on the radio show and you want to download it and find out more information about it, God, we're on every podcasting platform that is known to man. iHeart, and iTunes,
insane.
Everything. Yes.
It's insane watching all the downloads from the various countries. Again, we don't know who you are, where you live. We just see the countries out there as they keep track of analytics. And Australia, big shout out to not only France. We love France because they're our top downloaded country.
Right.
And the UK and all over Europe. But we've got people in China, Australia, the Philippines. And in the States right now, California is always outside of Michigan, number 2. Ohio's in 3rd right now of the most downloads of the show here. Texas, New York, Illinois, Florida, and all over the East Coast. So we appreciate the love. Keep telling your friends about our show. Share it on your social media sites. We appreciate the love right here in the mothership.
It's a very white mothership because of the snow, because it's winter.
Yes, it is winter here in Michigan. Little
Yes,
John, we really love and appreciate you. Thank you for being on the show.
Well, at least I'm alive and I can still come on. Praise the Lord.
Amen. We love you, Little John, and big shout out to all his fellow Eagle members out there. They do a lot of good for a lot of people in the community, for sure. Craig?
Todd?
What do you say?
Show's over, man. We got to go.
Come on, Craig. We're just getting started.
I know. What are you doing today? You going out to shredding the gnar? You're going to do some snowboarding? What are you doing? Is anybody open yet? Any of the snowboard places open yet?
Not here in the great state of Michigan. Little John and I talked about it between segments. We're starting our own e-commerce store to compete with yours. So Little John and I are going to the Goodwill store after this, right, Little John?
No.
Where are we going?
Salvation Army.
Army.
Salvation
Better
Army.
Yet, yeah.
So in other words, I'm going to be selling coats, and you guys are going to be getting like snow pants and boots and stuff. I see how you are.
Yeah, I'm meeting up with Big here, and we're going to do some shredding the gnar down in Sleepy Hollow. So, hey, Craig, great show, great time. We'll see you same time, same place next week, Mr. Russell. And as I now say, exiting the mothership, we're not here for a long time, but we're here for a good time.
Amen.
See you next week. Take us out with some docking. It's not love, it's infatuation.
When I told you, is it pulling you down, 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 down?
Todd L. Levitt Law Show, brought to you by Chad Mallywell Drilling of Rosebush, Clark Modular Homes, your most experienced and trusted builder in Mount Pleasant, Clear Vision Windows, Siding, Roofing, and Attic Installation of Midland, Mackinac Properties and Northern Michigan Vacation Rentals, buying, selling, and renting properties in the Straits of Mackinac region since 1998, Tim's Collision Plus in Roscommon, Harrison Power Sports, Central Michigan's fastest growing full-line Arctic Cat dealer, and Dr. Robert Townsend and Denali Healthcare for your alternative healthcare needs.
Opinions expressed on this radio program do not necessarily reflect the views of this radio station.